So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another episode of Is It That Bad, where we take a look at an album. There he is. Mark, you broke my concentration.
Sorry.
Okay, where we take a look at an album and if it got mixed reviews, and we go over it, we pick our tracks, and we decide if it's really that bad. So, for this episode, I got a real metal panel today. We got Justin from Workers and the Heavy Business Podcast. We got actually Mark Pursino. He's not in Workers, even though he's wearing the Workers shirt. He's in Electrocutioner, a thrash metal band from New York. And we have Mark from Metal Never Dies and also the band Aquila. We have JC, Rock and Metal Reviews. Uh, and of course me and JC and me probably will form a band one day. I don't. At least JC plays the guitar. I don't. I'll pretend to sing. So we're here today because we're going back to an album that turns 15. No, 15. 10 years old on 2025. It came out in October of 2015. I can't even believe that this came out so long ago. So it's the seventh album by Trivium. Here's the album cover, and it's Silence in the Snow. And we picked this album. I actually picked this album because this was an album that when it came out, it was very divisive because it's the only Trivium album to not have harsh vocals. So obviously, no harsh vocals. There's gonna be like a shift in the fan base. And I was reading, and it had some mixed reviews. There were some positive reviews, some negative reviews, but yeah, mixed reviews all the way. So yeah, so I'm joined. We have our nice panel here. So today, let's start. We'll do Justin, JC, Mark, and then the other Mark, Mark New York and Mark Canada, and then we'll go to me. So the drill, couchers. We have the three rounds. The first round where we give our first impressions on when we listen to this album. Then the second round where we pick three tracks that we think are the weakest, and then the third and final round where we give it a thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down, and obviously our final thoughts on this. So without further ado, Justin, your initial thoughts with this one.
All right, so I would say like I'm a very fair weather casual Trivium fan. Like when they're at their best, they're pretty good, but I kind of lump them into a similar category as Anthrax, and I know I might get a little flack for this, but like I don't need to own their whole catalog, but if you take like all of the choice nugs, you could make like one really good playlist. That's kind of how I've always felt about Trivium. It's like nondescript, like kind of I've always just called it Ozfest metal. It's like metal that's written for like no one and everyone at the same time. So like if somebody says I listen to everything, like they probably mean they listen to Trivium. But this album wasn't one that I gravitated towards. I do have one of the songs, Until the World Goes Cold, is like on my Trivium playlist. And I think the story of Trivium as a band and really this album we'll get into is that everything hinges on Matt Heafy's vocal performance. Like the songs are always pretty technically proficient. Like the guitar playing in Trivium is really good. They always have really good production. But yeah, it depends whether or not Matt shows up in the studio. Some albums he's like really on it. On this album, it feels like he's maybe trying to force things in an intentionally commercial direction, and I think the performance is like suffered as a result of that. But you know, Trivium's at their best when Matt has more grit in his vocals, which is what you kind of alluded to, which is probably why this album got mixed reviews. But sadly, this is not one of those albums. So yeah, first impressions, I don't know. We'll get to it.
Okay. What about you, JC?
Okay, I guess I'm not the biggest Trivium fan. I think I started listening to them with the album that came out right after this one, which is The Sin and the Sentence from 2017. And I've listened to the ones after that, the when or What the Dead Men Say 2020 and In the Court of Dragon 2021, which I reviewed on my channel. And there are a couple of other ones. I think like this band, they kind of like don't know what they want. I feel like they go in like different directions. I mean, like some albums sound more metalcore, other I know that one album, I think it's The Crusade, where like he's trying to be Metallica. So it
Yeah,
like
I
they kind
remember
of
that
like
one.
it's that one. It's
Mm.
they kind of like do like a lot of different things. Now this album, I felt it was kind of all over the place. Like the first couple songs, I'm thinking it sounds like power metal. Like they're like doing this like fantasy stuff, and then other songs, I think there are parts where it sounds a little bit like new metal, like Korn. There's a little bit like of elements of like Metallica. Then other times they sound more like Breaking Benjamin, and it's just like something like they're going in different directions on this album. So, but as far as like like what Justin said, that the musicianship is pretty good. This is their only album with a drummer whose name is Mat Madiro, and he's a really good drummer. I mean, I usually gravitate towards like the guitar sound, but I really like the drumming on this album. I thought it was like, really good. So, and it was the only album where this guy played the drums on. So I thought like the drumming was like the best part of this album. But so yeah, it has its moments. It's kind of like very mixed. So I guess when we go into the next round, I mean, I should be able to pick a good three. So
Yeah.
that's all I'll say for now. Yeah.
Okay. What about Mark, New York?
Mark from New York checking in. Yeah, so I will be honest, I might have seen Trivium in like a parking lot at Ozfest, and actually, Justin, I swear to God, when I was listening to this, I said Ozfest 2006 or some metal. Um,
2005. I was
then
there.
yeah, good. My brain cells are kind of close. Um, I couldn't name a Trivium song. I couldn't name an album if you tried to pay me $1,000. I have this preconceived notion that I am going to despise it. So I went into it with a clear head. I went into it say, all right, even if you don't like it, let's be objective, like kind of we did with similar things. Like, is it good? Is it bad? Let's try to judge it objectively. So I'm going to put, um, my feelings aside, what I would normally just be a Cro-Magnon Neanderthal and just rip it to shreds. But I'm going to be objective. I'm going to be a chill dude on the couch. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So my first thoughts were, actually, and I will say, which interesting, and JC brought it up. I kind of wanted to research the album, like why. So, when I think of Trivium, I think of like kind of like a metalcore, that sound, but I don't really know. So I'm like, well, why would this album be controversial? Like, why would this one be considered bad? And I read a Wikipedia where the guy said like they were on tour with Heaven and Hell. So I might have saw him on that tour too. And they said that like Ronnie James Dio and like inspired some of the the vocals and the style. But yeah, when I listened to it, I was actually a little surprised. As JC pointed out, I noticed there was kind of like a power metal gallop going on. I was like, oh, this isn't this metalcore crap I was expecting. So I thought that was interesting. My other reaction at first was like it reminded me of like every like WWE Raw like theme song, like just kind of that like generic metal rock. I'm not saying it's bad or good yet. I'm not getting into it, but that was my initial impressions. It's like, all right, what am I getting into? Um, and then I did read that like some fans kind of criticized this album, but apparently they have done this before, like kind of switch things up. So then I was like, all right, it's kind of ballsy, I guess, to say, do it is very ballsy to do what you want, especially when you're a big band. So those are my initial impressions.
Good. So, Mark, Canada. So,
Yeah. Hey guys, yeah. So I do remember this album from like 10 years ago, and I've been a Trivium fan like in the beginning, like when they first came out and stuff, and then they kind of like died off towards the middle of their discography. And then I jumped on them again from like their last couple albums. I thought were really well done. So, but this one I don't really go back to often. I think my initial reaction from like 10 years ago was like I found it very, very boring. So, but yeah, I think listening to it now, I I'm like I do hear some of the I guess like heavy metal influence, but for sure the power metal like that's a perfect description of it. And then I do hear like that alternative metal. I guess that's where that Ozfest sound, this alternative metal, like almost like an alter bridge, I guess you could say, and Tremonti, like his solo project there. So that's what it kind of really reminds me of. Kind of has that alternative metal vibe in it as well. So I'll give you my what I think after. So
Yeah.
that's what I got from it.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So I actually did listen to this when it came out, and I think I didn't find information, but I remember I think he did only clean vocals because he was having, I think he had some throat problems or something, if I'm not mistaken, and that's why he wasn't doing like harsher vocals at that moment. So that's why that's their only album that only has clean vocals because I think he was getting. I was trying to get more information because I remember, yeah, I think he was only doing clean vocals for that one because he had some troubles. Like he had strained his voice from trying to scream because I agree. I don't think he's the best singer, but I think he writes some great songs. He's a great guitar player, and I've seen him on. I think seen him on YouTube talking, and he's really a fan of like real like other metal stuff. He even has a project that's like a black metal project where he does other type of stuff that
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
sound like Trivium. So I don't know. I kind of like the guy when I've seen him. He seems like a nice, like a cool dude. And plus, I like it that he has had some albums where he brings some of his Japanese heritage into the mix, which he did on Shogun. But yeah, this album, it starts like very power metal, like especially the song like when Silence is the Snow, which I actually loved that track when it came out, and but you can hear like he's like Silence in the Snow. So it's very different than if you listen to some of the earlier albums. So when this came out, I did listen to it. I think I can't remember if 10 years ago. I think I enjoyed it, but like I think someone said I haven't been. This is one of the albums that I go back less to from them. Uh, so I hadn't listened to it in a long time. I remembered Until the World Goes Cold and obviously Silencing the Snow. But the other songs I hadn't listened to in them in so long that I didn't remember. But yes, listening to it, I think uh, the only thing I was listening to is like some of the songs kind of blended it together, and I think it's because like all the vocals were kind of similar because Matt Heath is doing like clean vocals, but his range is kind of limited, so it's like all the songs kind of sound. There's a lot of songs that sound very similar because of that, and yeah, that's my first impressions. Like going back to it 10 years later. So now we're gonna go to round two, where we're gonna pick singles that maybe we think are the weakest. So, Justin, what songs did you pick?
All right, so I actually, for my first pick, I did pick Silence in the Snow, and only because it just felt like such a weird outlier. Like the intro slash chorus kind of feels European, like you guys had said power metal. It almost felt to me like I was getting ready to watch like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra or some shit. And then like the verse like kind of transitions into this like Amon Amar the B-side kind of sounding thing with lyrics about snow instead of like whatever Viking cool shit like Amon Amarth would be talking about. But I don't know if this was like purposely made to be like a Christmas song or something. I don't know, but it's kind of like getting a sweater when you're hoping for an Xbox. So like, thanks, I guess. I don't know. I picked "Pull Me from the Void," and this one to me was just like another slow starter. Kind of same issues that I found, like reoccurring theme through this album. It's not technically bad in any way. Like it just feels like really uninspired. Like no chances were taken whatsoever. It's just like very, very safe. The vocals like fall in the most obvious spots, like following the riff to a T. Like if the riff goes da da da, the vocals go da 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 right with them. So I don't know, it's kind of like a lack of energy in the chorus. And I wish they would have used like the cool little leady transition part that comes out of the chorus as the chorus, like build to something, like give me a reason to keep listening. But like by the time it gets to like the breakdown solo section, I was already hoping to like never hear the song again. So just like too little, too late. And then the other song I picked was "The Thing That Kills Me." Aside from listening to this entire album today, starts strong, like cool intro, really high energy. And here we go, right? Like, nope. Boring, corny verse, half-hearted like Avenged Sevenfold-esque chorus. Rinse, repeat. The cool riff comes back for a few measures. The disappointment comes right back for a few measures. The solo feels like very Avenged Sevenfold. Come to think of it, like this whole album kind of sounds like Avenged Sevenfold. But yeah, I just kind of like all the promise in the world in that song. And I don't think it was the worst song on the album. I think it was the one that pissed me off the most because like it started so cool. It started with promise and it sounded like the Trivium that I do like and just immediately like devolved into this like long, boring, flat song. So yeah, that one kind of pissed me off. Those are my three.
Okay. So good picks. What about you, JC?
Okay, yeah, I was almost going to pick that Silence in the Snow one because it reminded me of like this power metal, like Stradivarius or something like that. But I didn't pick that one. My first pick is going to be track five, "The Ghost That's Haunting You." It was very new metal sounding. It reminded me of like the band Stained, something like that. And I'm listening to the vocals and I'm thinking. I'm trying to think of what it reminds me of, and it reminds me of that band like Volbeat. I think it kind of like that's what it gave me listening to that, and I think it was just like very generic new metal. Like it didn't really have any good guitar riffs or anything like that, so that's why I picked that one. My next one is going to be track eight, "Rise Above the Tides." Another one. It's very post grunge, generic 2000s, very like that 2000s type of like rock or hard rock metal. It's just one of those songs that just didn't do much for me. It was similar to "Until the World Goes Cold," which was a single, which I actually like. I think that's a song I remember, but because that was a catchy song. But this one was kind of boring. And my last pick will be track 10, "Beneath the Sun." Kind of weird. It reminds me of like the band Saigon Kick, where they do these, I don't know, they like these harmonies or something, like vocal harmonies.
Love is
And I
on the
also
way.
hear, yeah, Love is on the Way, but that was their big hit. But Saigon Kick, if you hear like their heavier stuff, it's just one of those bands I really like from the late 80s, early 90s. But anyway, I heard like a little bit of like a Metallica, where there are times when Matt Heafy is singing and he tries to like sound like Hetfield. So I heard that in a few songs, and this was one of them. And there were just parts where it just felt really mixed, like a mixture of like Metallica 2000s metal and metalcore. So that one, it just didn't really do much for me. So that's all. Those are my three. Yeah.
Okay. Good picks, man. So what about you, Mark?
So this is my least three favorite, correct? Is that right?
Yeah,
Yes,
at least
least
three.
free.
All right.
Don't pull a Justin like he did on an episode a few months ago where he's like, and I really love this song. I'm like, dude, is it that bad?
Now, yeah, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. So, uh, none of these songs particularly like offended me. Like, I guess I agree with you, Hector, that they all kind of sounded the same to me. Like, I didn't
Mhm.
think like well, when I guess when we get into the songs we like they all kind of sounded the same. There was like the same formula, and I kind of disliked the same about each one, kind of like what I didn't like about it too much. So I don't want to like dissect the album. I'll say that for later. But I will say the song that did piss me off the most was the intro. I couldn't stand the intro, and I'll tell you why. I'm a big synth interlude guy. You know, we have like four synth interludes on every album. You know, and I think the way you got to do a synth interlude on an album is two ways. Like you got to go like John Carpenter, like a quick, 30, 40 second creepy theme, set the
Yeah,
ambience, and then get into it. But this one is like so bombastic, and there's like key changes, there's dynamics. Like it starts off like epic, and then it gets like quiet, and then it gets epic again. It's like it's fucking in a minute and a half. and I'm like, it's like they really put a lot of time in it. And overall I found it to be like it would have fit better on like some kind of like epic metal, or I could see this being like on a Manowar record or even a black metal album because it's like very bombastic and like serious, but like it doesn't really match the vibe of the album. So I think it particularly pissed me off because I kind of knew it because when I looked at the album cover and I was like, there's no logo on this, there's no name on it. It looks like they're trying to be Apple, like this sleek, sophisticated presentation. And as soon as I got to this like intro that doesn't know what it doesn't even sound like an intro. It really sounds like a like background music, you know? I was like, this it doesn't, I think Justin said it doesn't know what it wants to be. Like it kind of wants to do something, but it's like giving me lukewarm vibes. So the compliment I'll give him is like, nothing particularly was like, this is the worst thing I've ever heard. So I really can't pick one song that I said, I hate this song. I think they were all kind of, honestly, the whole album to me was very vanilla, like the color. It was just all kind of whitewashed. But the intro particularly pissed me off.
because you love intros, man. And
Did.
that intro reminded me of Winter Song because they're kind of fucking pretentious like that.
Well, I mean, like that's the thing. It's like it shouldn't co like bands can pull that off if they have epic vibe. I mean, forgive me, I don't know if I'm wrong about Trivium, but I picture like, a kind of meat and potatoes like metalcore band. I don't picture like this like grand, theatrical presentation. Didn't seem to match. It didn't seem to match the album either because the album is very like radio metal friendly, and I was like, this doesn't really match. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Snowfall is the only track that you don't like?
No, I mean I don't like any of them, but that one particularly pissed me off. But I won't say I won't say like they were all bad. I'm gonna be very positive. I'm gonna give some good notes too. But I mean that was the it all kind of, dude. Honestly, I forgot when songs started. I was listening to them and I was just like, I don't know what is, because I also, and we'll get to it later. Like a lot of the parts didn't like mix well. Like I actually thought there's some cool ass riffs, and then the next part was like this radio poppy chorus, and the next part was this shit. And I was like, I don't even know if this is the same song. So I don't know, man. Trivium.
It,
There you go. Nothing pissed me off too bad.
it does
Okay.
feel like a 45 to 50 minute long song. It really truly does.
Yeah.
It's all in the same basic key. Everything is pretty much the same tempo. It's like the same theme all over. It really, I'm 100% with you. You really, if you were listening to this in the distance, you would just think it was like a 50-minute song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, if you listen to it in Spotify, there's a extended edition with two more songs.
That's probably the one
Right.
I listened to.
Yeah, I listened to it. I'm like, I don't remember this album being that long. And I'm like, so I'm like, okay. So yeah, good analysis, Mark. And now Mark Canada, tell me what tracks did you pick?
Yeah, I picked three tracks here, but yeah, everything just sounds like samey. It's like there's no hills or valleys. It's just flat. Like you just kept it flat the whole time. But it was very hard to kind of pick um, because like I think I listened to this album maybe like four times throughout the week to try grasp what I hated because everything is just so flatlined. Like everything's just it's kind of sound the same to me. But I picked Silence in the Snow just because I just find that chorus kind of annoying. Dead and Gone. I just thought that one was kind of weird. Was different because it had like a new metal vibe to it. I don't know what he was doing there with his during the verses. He has some kind of rhyming rhythm kind of going on there, but that one sounded a little bit new metal to me. And then I picked Until the World Goes Cold just because like that song just drags and that chorus just repeats and repeats like 100 times.
Until it
So
goes cold.
yeah, and we had a snowstorm today, and so I had the day off today. It's crazy here in Canada.
This was an omen, and you were listening to Silence in the Storm.
I should have been listening.
Oh,
Should have been listening to that when I was shoveling today. That's what I should have been doing.
Yeah, so good picks, Mark. So that leaves me, and I I picked Silence in the Snow because the way he's singing like I remember liking that song when it came out, but listening to it now 10 years later, it just sounds funny. Like he's like in this, and I wonder, like Disney, put this fucking track on Snow White. Like, could you imagine the ending? Snow White and he starts like, "Da-na," and she's like in this. So it's very over the top. And that song, when I was listening now, I'm like, wow, I remember liking this, but it has a lot of cheese to that track. That whole track is full of cheese. But I gotta say, even though it's the most like different sounding track on this record, because the other songs, like I agree with what Mark said, kind of sound like the same. And the intro is like a long intro, and it's just like when you hear like a piano or something playing the silence in the snow, and I don't know, they could have cut that off. It didn't piss me off as much as Mark, because I don't do intros, but it should have been shorter. I agree with him.
I'll tell you, I'll tell you also why it pissed me off. They should have added some wind and some snow, like sound effects, set the winter vibe, and felt it was like
Yeah,
Game of Thrones, you know?
yeah, if they're going to do like a special edition, Mark, send them your tape today from shoveling snow with the sounds. I'm like, put it in the intro. You're like, shoveling the snow and stuff. So yeah, I picked that one, and until the world goes cold, it's just such a fucking boring track. I know it was like a big hit for them, but it's like ghost town. I don't know. It has like that Breaking Benjamin quality to it, but I think the
Yeah.
Breaking Benjamin singer actually sings better than him. So it would have worked better as a Breaking Benjamin song. And then, to me, picking a third track was really fucking hard, because there's a lot of songs here that sounded like it's the same thing. It goes the same, and that's why when I was listening to it's like I was thinking I missed the harsher vocals, because
Yeah.
the album before this, In Waves, that track is fucking great. And I'm thinking like not having those like the changes in vocals make the album seem like monotone, uh, and kind of boring at times. So the other one I pick, after a lot of thought, I picked "Pull Me from the Void," and it's because I also I don't know, I think that when he's like "Pull me from the void," I don't know, the vocals are cheesy again, and yeah, it's just very repetitive song. But I gotta say, just like Mark from Electrocutioner, there's no song here that really pissed me off, and I would say like it's super atrocious. I just think that this album would have benefited from some, maybe a little bit of changes in the songs. And I agree with JC. The drumming is really good on this album, and I don't know what happened with that drummer and why they didn't keep him, but I think he was very good on this. I would say the highlight of the album is the drumming as well. So there you have it. We've all picked uh, three songs, except Mark from Electrocutioner, who who just bitch about the intro, but made solid points. So now we're gonna go to the third and final round. We're gonna give our final thoughts, and vote thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or thumbs down. So Justin.
All right, so I'm gonna have to just quickly defend Until the World Goes Cold, because you're saying that it sounds like Breaking Benjamin. That to me is a compliment, because none of these other songs with these big half slapped together clean choruses could ever in a million years even pass for a Breaking Benjamin song. So even though it's still kind of like boring and samey, it was like executed better. But to me, like the story of this album is kind of like it's like a lack of awareness. Like it's really easy for me to sit here and say like cut this, change that because I'm not caught up in the moment. I'm not in the studio making the album. But the really hard thing about writing this style of music is that you don't leave yourself anything to hide behind. Like if you write a cheesy lyric or a bad vocal line, it's right there. Like it's on full display. Everybody's gonna hear it. It has to be honest, it has to be good. Like any shitbag with lungs and vocal cords can Cookie Monster over a chunk 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 riff for a half hour, and you get away with pretty much anything. But when you're doing this kind of stuff, you really don't have the space to do that. You're naked, you're fully exposed the whole time. And it's a hell of a lot harder to write like a memorable vocal part than people realize. If you've got 13 songs to write, like I don't care who you are and how good you are, slim chance in hell that like all 13 are gonna knock it out of the park. So I don't know. This album to me, it's passable. Like it has some great guitar work. It has, a couple of songs are good enough to want to listen to more often. I hate to be a fence sitter, like another episode. I feel like I've been going this route lately, but I got to go thumb sideways. Like Trivium has much better albums in their catalog. They're a solid band. Maybe don't let this be your intro to Trivium. Maybe like jump into like the Sin in a Sentence instead. But
Yeah, that one's
there are a
good.
couple songs here. Yeah. I just think like if Matt Heafy had showed up and if his voice was a problem, they could have just done what every metalcore band in the world does and just had another guy in the band do the backing vocals. So I don't know if like it was a conscious decision, if that's a rumor that he was having throat problems. I know that ironically enough, that was kind of the story Avenged Sevenfold used. I really don't know. I think it was a conscious decision and like a move towards like, more of a corporate rock metal sound. I don't know if I buy that his voice was out at the time, but his voice definitely didn't show up in the studio. Either way, sideways. Sorry, Matt.
Okay. What about you, JC?
Yeah, I think it's one of the albums where I didn't really like hate anything. I mean, I think there were some songs that I could kind of get into. I like the single. I thought "Until the World Goes Cold." I thought it's a catchy song. I thought it's just one that I liked a lot. And yeah, I put that on my notes. Breaking Benjamin. It sounds like that, but I thought it was a pretty decent song. The rest of the album, I thought there's like a lot of different influences. So there's a lot of like heavy metal influences. I hear a lot of influence from like Iron Maiden and Metallica and those bands. And some of it's more like new metal. So it's the type of album where I don't think it's one that I'm going to go back to a lot. I don't listen, like Trivium is not one of my go-to bands. I listen to them every now and then. But I think like this is not one that like it didn't bother me at all. So I'm also going to go sideways. I think it has some good stuff here. And the drumming, I think like just for the drumming alone, just saves it. Yeah.
And the snow.
I
Okay.
just know.
The snow. So, maybe he should have write like silencing the cocaine. Something. And have like the Trivium mask with the cocaine over the nose, and now this video gets demonetized. No, I'm kidding. Uh, hey, the episode I did for Steven Seagal didn't get demonetized, and we talked a lot of smack there. So I'm sure this is inoffensive. So, Mark, Electrocutioner, now you're gonna give us your essay on the positive, because I know you always like to defend uh bands because you say that it's their babies.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to be an absolute jerk here. I mean, I don't, I don't know any of these guys' names, so I don't know if they're like respected. So I want to say some good things. Uh, I would say I thought and I play guitar in the band. I thought the guitar player, I don't know if there's two, I have no idea. But I thought he had very little to work with, and he did some pretty cool solos. I'm gonna give him that. Like the rhythm tracks were like bare bones, nothing interesting, and I thought. I would imagine he's probably respected in the field of like metalcore or some shit because I thought technically they were cool. I thought some of the solos they kind of got me through this marathon of monotony here. So, and that's kind of hard to do because he didn't have like cool riffs to work with, I'll say. So, I don't know if the guitar player is like a respected. Is he still in the band? I mean, probably could find something better to do, I think.
I think
Anyways,
it's Matt Heafy.
It is. Well,
who's
there's
that, the
two.
singer?
It's
Yeah,
true.
the singer plays guitar. There's another. They also have a lead
Yeah, there's
guitarist too.
another dude,
Oh,
but Frank,
They're both monsters. They're both
the
great.
well,
only name I know from that band is Matt Heafy.
okay, so the singer who's like I've seen him. I saw a picture and I was like, I know, I've seen it. So he's not only like the singer, he's also this notable guitar player. Okay, interesting. So I was gonna say then that kind of goes into my next theory. Um, I don't think, I mean, I've never heard him scream. And I want to be specific. I don't think he has a bad voice, but I think he has a bad voice. What I mean by that is like, I don't think he's a bad singer. Like he sounded pretty fine. Nothing was bad, but like, his natural voice isn't special. And if you're gonna sing like, um, this kind of power metal inspired, you gotta have like either like a ballsy voice that can carry it, or even kind of like a feminine voice that kind of lets you go higher. And he's fucking right in the middle. And I'm like, dude, like he never goes high. And when he does go high, it's not he's actually not going up in the range. He's just
Yeah.
kind of pushing it. So I think he must be an incredibly talented guy, and I guess he was trying to push himself. But I think this was probably a job for someone else, and that's not a bad thing. We can't do it all, but I would have been like in the studio, like, dude, this isn't your wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? So, my other criticism, I would say, every riff sounded like a sound man was just checking the guitar, it's just like ching 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 ching. Like I couldn't find a cool riff, except I will give kudos. I did enjoy the beginning to what the hell was it called? Pull Me from the Void. I thought that intro riff was cool. And then I guess the problem and why I'm gonna give this album the thumbs down is because they like continuously like neutered the songs. Like I thought like I don't like this shit and I never would, but I don't think I would complain if someone put this on in my car. Well, not my car, but if in their car, I'd be like, all right, well, I mean, this isn't that great, but whatever. It's not like I'm listening to like I didn't get a sense like that these guys are wannabes or posers. Like they're just, playing this kind of commercial metal, which surprises me because I don't know why people would dislike this. It sounds like every other kind of commercial metal that, people enjoy. Um, but I thought the problem with this album, I'm going to take myself out of this because I've just never listened to it. But if I was just an objective reviewer, it's like they kind of just neutered the songs. Like they would have these like kind of like some of these riffs were not brutal, but very aggressive and heavy and dark and kind of cool. And then all of a sudden it was just like I changed the radio station dial and it was like this stereo, what do they call that? Like arena rock kind of beautiful chorus. And I'm like, I don't know. So I
Like
guess,
Journey?
yeah, no, I mean, not on that level, but like, I guess I don't know who these bands are. Like kind of like an Avenged Sevenfold or, like a, I don't know. I don't know who these radio metal bands are, but you know what I'm talking about. It's got that really pretty chorus that like that you could put on a commercial. So I would have given, not that I'm saying it's, I think in this domain I would have given it a thumbs up for like if you like this commercial metal shit that, or if you don't like metal and you just like kind of rock, I would say like I don't know why you wouldn't like this. It sounds like everything else, but I would particularly give this album a thumbs down because it's all over the place, man. Like they kind of like they in a way, they're taking all these risks by mashing these styles, but it just doesn't work, man. You know,
So you have an official, you haven't done the thumbs down, man. You got to do the thumbs down.
thumbs fucking down, Trivium. Sorry, guys.
Dude, it's
Uh,
funny. Like my buddy Philip, he sings in this band called Tyrant. They're a good band, but he is like a super Matt Heafy fanboy, and I fuck with him all the time. And I'm always like, I'm now imagine how good Trivium would be if Matt Heafy could fucking sing, and like that really. It really chaps his ass. But like in all fairness, you have to listen to some of the other albums. He actually does normally sing a lot better than what he does on this album, and I think that's probably why this album pissed so many people off.
but
He
does
has
he
a
sing
lot.
or scream?
He does
Oh,
both. Like he has
He
oh,
there's a
screams
really?
too.
he has a lot more in his toolkit than what he used here, and I have to imagine that's
Okay.
why this thing was met with such like mixed reviews or pushback.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's kind of why I don't really know their catalog. I just have a preconceived idea. But that was just my idea that like his actually singing voice on the choruses sound like they belong, but like just to regular sing like that on the verses was like not getting the job done, unfortunately.
Yeah. So Mark from Aquila, your
Yes.
final thoughts?
So that's kind of funny. That intro, that's a Snowfall. Ishan, he's the one that composed that intro.
So who's that though?
Oh, makes
Yeah, so
sense.
I'm
They
reading the
they work
credits.
together.
So yeah, so it's kind of funny.
Who is that though? Is that someone I would know?
From Emperor, man, Ishan.
Oh,
Yeah, this is the
I didn't hear what
Blackbird.
you said. Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was just
wow.
reading the credits. I was like, yeah,
I
who
thought you were
did
talking about a
this?
guy in the band. I was like, I didn't know who that
Oh,
guy
no.
is.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's like I listened to it quite a few times, probably more times now than I did back in the day. And I guess my thing is like, would I go back to it? I guess the only time I will go back to it is like doing a review or something like that, like what we're doing. Like, would I go back to, if it was playing, I'd let it play if I had like a mixed thing or just hitting like one of those lists, that people already make a playlist, and one of these songs came on, I'll probably just let it play. Like, yeah, it probably wouldn't bother me so much, but I'm just gonna go sideways. Uh,
Okay.
I don't I don't think it's a bad album. Like, if it's playing, yeah, sure. But like, would I go back to it just like to enjoy it? Probably not. Just because there's other albums from these guys I'd rather listen to. But I don't hate it. So
Yeah. So yeah, so we have three thumbs sideways and one thumbs down. So that will leave me. So yeah, I don't hate this album, but I do think it can. When I was listening to it, I was getting like kind of bored. Like yeah, it's like kind of monotone. Uh, but there wasn't like a song that I'm like, oh fuck this song. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I've been listening to so much shit. Like before this, come on, I was listening to fucking Steven Seagal record. So listening to this was like So I challenge you, Mark, to listen to that Steven Seagal record.
Dude, I'd
It's
probably love
hilarious.
that, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's something out there. So this one, I just think that in the Trivium discography, I think this is one of their weakest records. Uh, and maybe it's because it's so monotone. And I remember that he said that he had some throat problems, but now because I don't know if it was true or if they just wanted to try something more commercial. Because then after that, the sing and the sentence went back into in wave sound when they're like doing the screams, they're doing different stuff, and I actually that record was good. So yeah, so I would say to Mark, don't judge the band only on this record because they do have some. Uh, yes, they're not thrash metal, but well, they have the Crusade album. Kind of like sounds like a Metallica stuff. But I just think that the problem with Trivium is that they're the type of band that when I think of Trivium, I think they have like no identity. It's like, because like if I listen to Killswitch Engage, they have like a thing. Like, they have their positive lyrics and Adam does some riffing that you're like, that's Killswitch Engage. And also same with a band like Shadows Fall. They do something, I'm like, oh, that's Shadows Fall. But with Trivium, it's like, yeah, it's like they're technically good, but they don't have like a there's I don't I don't know how to say this like it doesn't sound like an asshole, but it seems like they're lacking a personality to make them stand out. Uh but I give it a thumb sideways. I don't think this album is terrible. I'm not gonna go back to it, but yeah, I do think it's one of their weakest. So four thumbs sideways, one thumbs down. So I'm guessing this is ba- barely saved. It's an okay. It's okay. Like if it's in the background, I listen to it, uh, but yeah, that's what I think of this album. So Plowshares, there you have it. We think Silence is the Snow is not totally bad, but it's also not great. It's just it's there. It's in that line. It's
I've
that's
heard
that.
I've heard Trivium called metal by numbers many times. That's like it's kind of what people online refer to them as. Like when you get those coloring books and you follow the directions and you just kind of like color it in by the
Mhm.
number. That's what this is. It's like the metal formula. It's like we're going through the motions. It's technically metal, but it's like I don't know what the fuck we're doing here. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what this album is. This album is like commercial metal by numbers with like absolutely no direction. There's nothing controversial about it. There's nothing edgy about it. It's very safe. Like you can listen to this with your grandma in the car. It's I don't know. That's what it is.
I don't know if my grandma would like this shit. And also, well, she's not living right now. But if she was living, she wouldn't like it. But yeah, so yeah, there you have it. So we want to know from you, couchers, what do you think of Trivium Silence in the Snow? What would you rate it? Thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down, and comment down below what do you think are the weakest tracks. So coming up next for Is It That Bad? I am taking you, couchers, to the year 1998 when someone told Vanilla Ice that it would be fun to make a new metal album. That's right, couchers. We're going to be talking about the album Hard to Swallow by Vanilla Ice. That's going to be the next episode of Is It That Bad? So yeah, that one should be interesting. So I want to thank, my panel, Justin from Workers and the Heavy Business Podcast. So Justin, thank you for joining me again. What have you coming up on the podcast?
Well, we will have Vicky of the Agonist and her husband Robbie of Stuck Mojo. They've got a new band. I think the band is announced. But yeah, so we'll have them on soon. Workhorse is in the studio. We're finishing up pre-production on a new album, so hopefully we can get that to you guys sometime soon. But yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, we'll discuss it here. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
I have no doubt.
We'll do an easy that and we'll do an easy that bad. That
You
would be
gotta hit
hilarious. You imagine?
totally, but get Matt Heafy to watch this episode, and then have him come on and shit all over my album. How's that? What's fair is fair.
I'm thinking Matt Heafy is above my pay grade.
Uh,
but,
I'll have my people give him a call. How
but
about
if he
that?
if he wants to do it, and he'll be like like motherfucker. I know he knows some karate shit.
He does jujitsu, yeah, but
Yeah, he
but you
does
know what?
jujitsu.
I did jujitsu for a long time too. I'll roll with
Oh
Matt right
shit,
now.
this is
Let's
getting
go.
heated, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So JC, obviously his channel, he's got a new series where he goes around the world and gives you metal bands, which is a pretty cool series. So JC, what country are you doing next?
Okay, the last one I did the metal scene in France from the 80s. I'm trying to maybe a little trying to like instead of just doing random metal bands from like a particular country, I'm trying to like focus on a particular scene. I want to do Canada, the thrash metal scene in Canada, like from the 80s. And I think that would be good because I know Sacrifice has an album coming out pretty soon. So maybe like around that time, I want to, and I know this episode is actually coming out probably like a week after we're recording, right? So I want to focus on Canada, but other than that, the new metal, whatever comes out, when new albums come out, I like to do reviews of them, and I also do classic album reviews whenever they celebrate anniversaries. So I just recently did the first Black Sabbath album. I do everything from classic rock. So I do the Doors, I do Rush, I do Led Zeppelin, and I do heavy metal stuff. So and any other metal albums that celebrate anniversaries, death, spiritual healing. That one is coming up. So I have all these different ideas, and I just try to do as much as I can.
Yeah, no, you do a lot of videos, man.
I know.
Mhm.
Yeah, so obviously, Mark from Electrocutioner, I know you guys are working on a new record, right?
Yep, and we by the time we put this video out, it'll be done. We are it's all recorded. We're just we got like 1 or 2 more days of like mixing, mastering, and little, punch ticket type of things. It's coming out in the fall on CDN Records, which is a Canadian label that Corrosive is on, that Mark's from Canada's wearing. So it'll be out in the spring. We just got some big shows lined up. There we go, show off that shirt. And I think I don't know, man. We're just existing. We're trying to, get out of New York a little bit. It's tough over here. No one cares about thrash metal, you know?
Nobody cares about it anywhere in the world. That's the problem. But
So
an episode for another time.
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
So
But yeah,
Mark,
put out the what's up?
when you're gonna put out the record, you gotta send me so I can review it.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, I'll send you a copy, and then we'll do. We got to do a chill dude on the couch fest 1 in Puerto Rico, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool. I know some promoters here. That would be cool. So Mark, did you silence in the snow the shit out of your new record? No, I'm
What does that
kidding.
mean? I don't
So
know.
you're like, what? You're like,
Is that like cocaine? Is that what you mean?
we'll
Like
be
Sabbath
like,
Volume 4?
yeah. So yeah, the new electrocutioner will be out. I remember I did interview you when you had the last album because the
Yeah.
Green Man actually got me, like he did the review of your last album, and then that's when he's like, oh, you should interview electrocutioner. So I'm like,
That's right.
cool.
I'll
Yeah.
send you the advanced copy before it even comes out. I'll give you that VIP treatment. How about that?
That is awesome. So yeah, so and obviously Mark from Metal Never Dies and also the band Aquila. So Mark, in his channel, he does a lot of like also album reviews. And it's like a pretty he's pretty chill too. Like he did the last Dream Theater review in his truck.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm being funny, man. That was a
It's
missed
different.
opportunity, Mark. You should have done at the end, like you were driving and you were falling asleep. That would have and then like cut to Mark. The parasomnia got me. So, Mark, what have you coming up next, man?
I'll just continue doing some videos here and there. We got a show coming up and playing in Windsor, but it's supposed to, the weekend's supposed to be bad for snow again, so I don't know what's going to happen. So just
Yeah.
hope it's good. So
So you know what you should do, Mark? The next time you have snow, film yourself like plowing and going like silence in the snow.
you do that for one of the shorts, eh? Like a short video.
you, you'll do like a short doing that. So yeah, so thank you for doing another one of this one. So obviously there's going to be more Is It That Bad? And we the new series should have been bigger. We had a new episode out, and hopefully we'll do more of those if it performs well. Because if people don't give a shit, then it wasn't bigger. So, but yeah, it's a good series as well. And so subscribe to me and share with people who like this shit. So until next time, couchers, this Hector, the shield dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.